first of all, you have a family, right? Second of all, you probably took a huge pay cut to go from IT to magician, talking to kids, right?
I did.
So how did the family feel about this?
Yeah. Um, well, what I say in my talks, I say, it was in 2011 in the middle of a recession when I made the
Mm.
dubious decision to quit my corporate career and do magic tricks. Oh, did I say dubious decision? Those aren't my words. They're my wife's words. But no, that's a joke because she was supportive. And when I talked about doing this, and because I said, yeah, hey, after 6 months, if I'm just not getting any traction, I can go back because of my background, my experience, and being in IT. I can pretty much get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
But I was, I'd always been frugal and made good, choices with saving money and investing it, and so I had a cushion. We had a cushion. We weren't, living day to day. So that allowed me to do it too. That gave me the confidence that I can go ahead and try this, because
Yeah.
I'm not a big risk taker. Generally, my personality isn't one to take big risks. And people think, wow, what a huge risk you just took, giving up your corporate career. And in a way it was, but I did have that desire. I felt it would be a bigger risk to not tap into what I really felt that I wanted to do and made the best use of my gifts. So
Yeah, I mean that's what I've seen as sort of like a trend when I interview, like successful people and people who've followed their dreams. Essentially, it's more of I didn't take the giant leap. It wasn't like it was like a huge moment where I risked everything and put my whole life on the line. It's like no, I had a plan B, I had a contingency plan. Like it's
yeah,
not. I didn't really need to, like burn all my boats and go there. I just had to make a 6 month or yeah, like a little pivot, start doing a side job, something like that, so that I could start pursuing my dreams and give it a little
yeah.
shot.
And I call myself, I created the title decision performance specialist. And because I talk about how, our subconscious biases and shortcuts and illusions affect decision making, and how we could make much better decisions if we tuned in a little bit more to what's going on, at the inner subconscious brain level. So decision making like that, like the decision I made to quit my job and go into magic. I think you do have to be careful. Anytime you talk about following your passion, I don't think you just, like you said, you don't just jump into it. You have to think, do I have a cushion? Is my passion something that people want,
Yeah.
and will pay for? Is there an audience, and is it an audience that can pay for it and pay me for it, to do it? So there's a lot of things that go into that. And as I had mentioned, I had looked into the magic market in Louisville, the market for magicians, and saw that, there was room for me. If it was saturated, I wouldn't have done it.
Exactly. So it was practical, right? Like it wasn't it
Yeah.
wasn't just like a completely emotional throw caution to the wind moment.
Right.
So you became to well now, right? You're a decision making specialist. You were a magician, right? What did you learn? Sort of explain to everybody, what cognitive biases we have, and what are the human flaws that sort of affect our ability to make decisions. Give us the breakdown.
Yeah. Well, there's so many of them. And so this is what was interesting because, when you're a professional magician, you have to learn how to fool people. And so you have to learn a bit about human psychology. And what I discovered was the human mind is actually pretty easy to deceive. And we're all constantly being fooled, I say hoodwinked and bamboozled and snookered and swindled and hooked and reeled in all the time because of the way our brain works and it's set up. And our brain has developed over millions and millions of years. And the oldest part that developed back when we were little animals, and all small animals have it, is the part that works at the subconscious level, and it's built to keep us alive, right? So there's the term reptilian brain, which, and there's a lot of neuroscientists say, well, it's not really a brain part anymore, that some of this functionality that we developed a long time ago works in different parts of the brain, and you don't really have a reptilian brain as they used to think. But the term lizard brain comes comes in, for reptilian brain. And I like to call it just the lizard. And it's not really a brain part, but it's the functionality of keeping us alive, the subconscious impulses and shortcuts that we have that were developed to keep us alive, keep us safe so that we could pass on our DNA to future generations. The whole flight or fight response, that comes from the lizard. Now, I like that term because it's a metaphor, makes you think there's this little creature crawling around inside your head. And it kind of is, because now we have these two competing systems in our brain. And I'm sure you're, with all the experience you have talking to people in psychology and neuroscience, you've come across the term system 1 and system 2. And Daniel Kahneman, the psychologist who won the Nobel Prize in economics, and kind of started the whole behavioral economics field. He developed the term system 1 and system 2, the fast system and the slow system. And his book is called Thinking Fast and Slow. And, awesome book that he wrote for lay people. But so you got system 1, system 2. System 1 is what I call the lizard, and that's the part in the subconscious, the fast part that's trying to keep you alive. The thinking part, what you think about when you think about thinking, is system 2. It's the conscious part. It's the slow part. You think of it as the part that thinks through probabilities and sets goals and makes plans to achieve those goals and determines what your values are. That's all the stuff that you care about. That's your agenda, your goals and your values. Does the lizard, the system 1, care about your goals and values? No, it does not. It cares about one thing: keeping you alive, primarily by avoiding potential threats, recognizing them and avoiding them. And so it's that whole impulse, all of the things that are built inside us to keep us safe and keep us away from threats that don't really serve us as much now. They did when they were developed, because we were living in the wild and our lives were threatened all the time. We could get eaten in any second. So we were always on the lookout for threats, And so there's a number of things, of biases that come out of those impulses. For example, the negativity bias, things that are negative, situations, things that have happened to us that have a negative impact on us, stick with us, create much more brain activity than positive things.
Oh yeah, it's like, if you walk on the street and you gain $10, you're like, oh yeah, that's great. It's like wonderful. But if you lose, like $10 fall out of your pocket and you lose it, that actually doubles the amount of feeling that you have. So like you felt like kind of happy when you gain the $10, but you just feel absolutely terrible, double the negative emotion when you lose $10, which doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. But if you think about it, think about back, the lizard brain system 1 kind of thing, about how it developed to keep us safe. It's also about keeping what you have, because keeping your nest safe, from predators, for example. So that loss aversion, that you talk about, we're trying to avoid something bad happening to us, and that's more important to us than gaining something. We love to make gains, to get new things, but it's not as important as keeping what we have at that level, that loss aversion level. And it's so interesting. There's also something called the endowment effect, which it's very similar to loss aversion, and we put much more value on something that we own over something that we don't own. So here's a great example. I love this one. So Dan Ariely, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a behavioral psychologist out of Duke University. He's written some great books. Predictably Irrational is his most famous book. Anyway, he's got some good lectures and TED Talks out there too. He's a pretty funny guy. But he did the study. He's at Duke, and he did a study of basketball tickets. So of course, Duke is huge in basketball, but they have a very small arena, Cameron Indoors Arena, which doesn't hold very many people. And so they don't have enough seating for all their students. So they have a lottery for students to enter to get tickets, to win the ticket.
Okay.
So what he did after they had the lottery for the big Duke, North Carolina game one year, he called up a bunch of students who had either won or didn't win the tickets. And he asked them, first of all, if you didn't win the ticket, how much would you pay to get one of those tickets? And the average was, I believe, my numbers might be a little off, but I believe it was like $125.
Okay.
So, okay, so that's, for a lot of college students, that's a lot of money, but that's, about what
it's reasonable for a Duke game. Yeah.
Right, for a basketball game. So they asked the people who won the lotteries, who now had the tickets, what's the least amount of money you would give it up for? What would you sell it for? And it was in the thousands. It was like 2,000. It was 14 times. It was worth to the people that owned the ticket 14 times as much as it was to the people that did not own them. It's the same ticket, the same intrinsic value. They weren't any bigger of basketball fans than the people that didn't win. The only difference is that they owned it. So it's that endowment effect and that loss aversion phenomenon where we want to hang on to what we have.